On October 21st, 2018, while returning home to Three Hills, I ran into a train at Bircham, Alberta. The train in question is southbound CN A442, a manifest freight. Starting life in Edmonton, Alberta, and terminating in CN Sarcee Yard in Calgary, Alberta. Here we see the train at Bircham Crossing, mile 84.87. This crossing is close to the defect detector at mile 84.8. Today, A442 is 3/4 intermodal containers. This is not uncommon for this train to have intermodal cars on it, as the intermodal trains are the #1 priority train type in North America. Moving to the north, we see northbound CN Q143 winding its way through Three Hills, Alberta on October 26, 2018. Q143 is intermodal container traffic from Sarcee Yard in Calgary, Alberta, headed for Lynn Creek Yard in Vancouver, British Columbia. This time, it was being led by 3 GE-9s and 1 EMD SD75i. Now, I've heard rail fans refer to these old -9s on many occasions as trash 9s, because they're older units and are incredibly common. Now, I know they're just joking around and all, but don't forget, it is important to photograph and video this stuff while it's still around, because it won't be forever. A few weeks later, we find CN Q115 at another dirt road crossing, mile 76.35 this time. This Q115 is interesting because it sports ex-Illinois Central C40-8W number 2460, riding second in command. These engines are typically referred to by rail fans as Blue Devils because of their blue paint scheme. Q115 is a southbound on the Three Hills and Camrose subdivisions, originating in Toronto, Ontario, and terminating in Calgary, Alberta. Like Q143, it is intermodal container traffic, but going in the opposite direction. On a different day, we see a different CN Q115, this time at crossing mile 106.84 near Cathairn, Alberta. Like the Q115 from earlier, this one is all intermodal stack cars. Today, 115 is equipped with a BC Rail C44-9W, number 4645. These BC Rail units are becoming increasingly harder to find on CN because, due to age, they are being retired. Some scrapped, others sold. It is unfortunate, to say the least. About half an hour later, I found myself in Bicycle to catch CN A442 at mile 92. He was being led by two back-to-back -9s this evening. I wasn't alone for this catch. I was alongside a fellow railfan, whom you may know by his YouTube channel, Alberta Railfan. If you haven't heard of this channel before, you should check it out, especially if you like railfanning videos. These types of trains can be referred to as mixed, manifest, and even junk trains. Today, A442 has intermodal well cars, center beam bulkhead flat cars with lumber loads, tank cars, gondolas, covered hoppers, autoracks, and these bulkhead flat cars with mystery loads. Once again in Bicycle, this time to catch G819. I didn't have tons of time to film this one because it snuck up on me, and as usual, it was barreling through Bicycle at Mach 10 speeds. I was pleased to see an SD60 running in second place, elephant style, behind the lead Gevo. That SD60 was pretty neat, but G819 had one more treat for me, a DPU playing caboose. DPUs typically don't show up on the Three Hill Sub too often, as the terrain is quite flat, so there isn't really any need for them. This crossing is a great spot for filming trains. It provides a pleasant shot of both north and southbound trains slowly gliding through curves. When the timing is right, it can provide a near-perfect sunrise or even sunset shot. G819 is coming through just before sunset, but unfortunately it is too cloudy for a good sunset shot tonight. G819 is a northbound unit grain train from Lyelta to Edmonton. Lyelta is part of the old CN Drumheller sub that was torn up in 2014. A small portion of the Drumheller sub remains to serve grain in Calgary, but for the most part the Drumheller sub has faded into history. It is rarely used, seeing only G818 and G819, both sister unit grain trains. Notice that the DPU has its marker or class lights on. This is something you don't see too often, as most trains aren't equipped with marker lights these days, and to my knowledge, CN hasn't used the class light priority system in years. So this was the third treat of the night for me. Not too bad, I must say. About a month later, on December 8th, coming home from seeing the CP holiday train, we made a late-night emergency stop in Bicycle, again, to see a switching job at the grain elevator. Oddly, with an ES44DC and SD70M-2 doing the switching. A bit overkill as far as power goes, if you ask me.
back, line in. You're on my side, coming back.
Switching is a game of wit, to say the least. It is a game that many crews have played for years and will play for years to come. Some crews are so good at it that it just comes second nature to them and they can whiz through a switching job without the hard thought that comes from being a newbie. If it is done incorrectly, however, it costs the railway not only time, but also money. That is why crews take the time to carefully plan what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. Switching often takes a long time, as if rushed, mistakes can happen. Anything from a broken coupler knuckle to derailment or even injuries. That is why the railroad is very careful while switching. This was the first CN grain switching job I've seen out here, and I think I know why. It was 11:30 p.m. when I saw this thing. That tells me this is a night job, and explains why I've never seen it. I'm usually asleep when this thing's switching. I never got the symbol for this guy. Not even sure he had one. All I know is I only watched for about 20 minutes before I called it quits for the night, as it was minus 22 degrees Celsius that night, so I was a little cold. It was neat to see this thing nonetheless. In mid-December 2018, my scanner declared that M315 was clear through Bicycer. Since I had just passed Bicycer, I booked it back to Irricana to catch him. He had a rather new Tier 4 Gevo on point, and a Progress Rail SD75M number 200 as the third unit. PRLX 200 was originally built for the Santa Fe with the same number. After that, BNSF ran it as number 8200, then sold it to Progress Rail, where it was renumbered again and remains today. Remarkably, it never lost the war bonnet colors throughout all those years. M315 is another mixed train, but it is rarely seen running on the Three Hill Sub in daylight. It usually terminates in Mirror, after descending the Camrose sub from Edmonton to Mirror. But today, he was heading for Calgary. 315 runs on the Three Hill sub every second day, and is usually a night train. 315 originates in Winnipeg, Manitoba. You never know what you'll find on these mixed freights. Here are two brand new trucks without cargo boxes. Not sure where they came from, and I'm not sure where they're going, but they were cool to see at least. A couple months later, while on my way to Edmonton, my scanner came to life and told the tale of CNQ114 clear to Alex. I tried to catch him at a crossing between Huxley and Lausana, but I was too late. He had clearance between mile 44, just before Huxley, and mile 8, close to Alex.
Okay, it's okay for the 114, 114, 2580, 580. To proceed entirely through Port Road limits. You're clear. Mile 4444 and mile 8. Correct, 14. Okay, repeated 14, 51, 1451.
Continuing my descent to Edmonton, this time on the CN Camrose sub, All of a sudden, a 442 passes me. After turning around, I beat him to a crossing between Bashaw and Farintosh. Remember the DPU on G819 earlier? Well, A442 had one of its own, only this time in the middle. It served as sort of a divider between the stack cars and the manifest parts of the train. .442 was cool, but not 15 minutes went by before Q115 showed up. This time the crossing is at Farintosh. At this point, I was trying to film a train and keep warm in the minus 35 degrees Celsius weather, when all of a sudden, yep, there it goes. Q115 also had a mid DPU. I was happy with the one on 442, but I was even more excited when the second one showed up. I don't know how often DPUs show up on the Camrose sub, because I don't railfan the Camrose too often, but apparently the odds are pretty good. Well, that about does it for the CN Winter Railfanning Spectacular 2018-2019. Perhaps you learned something in the video, or maybe the video inspired you to go and catch some train action on the Three Hills and Camrose subdivisions. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you had any questions or comments on anything in the video, feel free to post them in the comment section below. I plan to do more videos like this in the future. That being said, I plan to make some changes to my channel, so look for an update video in the future as well. Until then, take care train fans, and I'll see you soon.